This is the news for October the 12th, 2021, and boy, we've got something that is going to be stacked here. Big thank you to the channel sponsors here at Local PR Toolkit. You can go ahead and get your hands on the Local PR Toolkit. It's kind of like being your own publicist. It's put together by experienced publicists inside the industry. Visit dalelinks.com/PR Toolkit. Use the coupon code of Dale to get $100 off your PR Toolkit. All right, moving forward, let's start it out with the first item in the news today. It is IngramSpark as well as Lulu. So they pretty much are coming out and telling everybody, and I've said this week after week after week, they recommend you order any of the proof copies and things like that that you need now, because otherwise you are going to be at a complete loss. So, in fact, IngramSpark actually recommended order dates for holiday demand. They said recommended United States orders, order by November the 5th for paperback and hardcover if you want to get it in time for the holidays. And they also recommend for the United Kingdom and Australia by November the 19th for paperback and hardcover. There are going to be a lot of delays, and this comes down to the supply chain. So don't go beat up IngramSpark or Lulu when you go to put things in there, because it's supply and demand. And right now the supply is kind of scarce. Oddly enough, I think it all comes down to the pandemic, and COVID has really affected many across the board. So you just need to be patient with some of these print-on-demand distributors. Order now. If you need to get yourself a bulk of books that you're wanting to gift out for the holidays, or you're planning an event or an author appearance, order them. So that's through IngramSpark as well as Lulu. So you're going to want to make sure you get that done ASAP. Moving a little further forward here. Okay, so I think I'm a little bit out of order here for the news items. EbookFairs most recently reached out to me. He said, we added email distribution to our over 9,000 readers. Wow. Folks, don't sleep on EbookFairs. They're not even paying me to say this, okay? Don't sleep on EbookFairs. This is a great virtual event that you can work with other authors, and you're doing virtual book fairs. And it's really, it's dirt cheap, dead simple. But all right, let me get back to the item that he said here. You're going to reach over 9,000 readers for official book fairs launched by our admin team. So the regular fair will happen, and all the books in this fair will also get sent in an email list to our readers. This email will have a direct link to Amazon for each book. We think this is a cool new feature to beef up what's in it for our authors to be part of the platform. I will, of course, put a link inside the description down below, so that way you can submit your title to this big fair. 9,000 readers. I mean, what would you give to reach that type of an audience? Now, granted, maybe not all of them are going to be into your Werebear Shapeshifter romance novella, but it's worth a shot. More details over at ebookfairs.com, or I'll leave a link down below where you can see more about that specific fair. Alrighty, some reason, like I said, I got my stuff out of order, so we're going to go on over here. Oh boy, the woes of Audible continues. Believe it or not, Orna Ross from over at Alliance of Independent Authors dropped a fairly detailed breakdown of what's going on. And this is pretty shocking here. The company for Audible, they turn over $2.5 billion in the US and over 100 million pounds in the UK alone. And if you haven't followed this channel long enough, let me go ahead and get you up to speed. Last October, it's been over a year now, something happened. It was a little bit of a blip on the radar that the reports in the ACX dashboard kind of fouled up, and ACX comes and they say, oh, whoops, we messed up. We've got to go ahead and credit you some stuff. And also, oh yeah, we're going to take some refunds as well. And there were some account holders that went into the negative, meaning that they owed ACX money because there were so many refunds. And for the longest time, there was no transparency in Audible and ACX. Most importantly, we didn't know where the refunds. Now there's a refund column, and TradPub companies as well as self-publishers were like, whoa, we need some checks and balances here because something's off. You're just going in and dipping into our stuff. Audible has this generous return policy that allows listeners to be able to return their audiobook within 365 days of purchasing it. That is absolutely ludicrous. It's fantastic for the reader and the listener, but it's horrible for us, the authors. So as they were kind of taken to court and taken to task in the public eye, Audible was like, oh, okay. We'll walk it back. We will still allow the 365-day return for readers, but we won't take it from your account if it's beyond the first 7 days. But the thing is, what happens if someone purchases your audiobook and binge listens to it within a day, which is very, very possible. There are some audiobook listeners that are super voracious, and they will listen to one after the other. Not to mention, we can do up to 2x, 3x speed, so we're able to listen to a lot of audiobooks at a single time. So what Ally comes forth and says, what if there was a cap? What if after 25%, there is no refund? And ACX is just kind of like, yeah, it's whatever. No. There was no response whatsoever from them. They're not biting. They feel like they have given enough consolation prizes to us that we're going to be okay with this. Not to mention that nothing was ever retrograded or retroactive to where we could actually get some of those refund money put back into our account, like those people that had hundreds of refunds all in October of last year. They think that this is good. So there's actually a lawsuit. And there's a group called TERM, which actually stands for the Equitable Rights Movement in the campaign known as Audiblegate. So they're actually taking them to task. And one of them that's actually heading it up is an actual self-published author. She's been spending her hard-earned time and money into this and actually not even focusing on her business because she's going to bat for some of us. And I think that is absolutely huge. I'm going to leave a link because I've only scratched the surface about what it is that Audiblegate has done to this industry. And we need to make a change. Find a Way Voices gets it. Find a Way Voices wants to make sure the indie author wins, because if the indie author wins, they win. But this Amazon-owned company, ACX, doesn't care. And it's super apparent based on the fact that they abuse the system and they allow abuse to run rampant. That's unacceptable. Especially since they're right now controlling a vast majority of online downloadable audiobooks and the sales. It sucks. ACX, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Something needs to change, and I certainly hope that the equitable rights movement is able to make something big, some type of change that will not only help out self-publishers, but also traditionally published authors. This should not stand. Moving forward, other news. All right, so here's a little bit of the segment I'd like to call Dale's Speculation here. I'm going to share some information. Don't tune this out because this is huge. AdSense most recently sent out an email to anybody that has used AdSense in some capacity. Of course, I use that, and it's for my YouTube videos, so people put ads over my videos and people pay for it. So when an advertiser wants to, say, for instance, use AdSense to promote through, say, videos or websites and such like that, there is a real-time based like auction, virtual auction of sorts, where they have a cost per click. And we're going to be talking more about that in today's podcast. If you missed it, it'll probably be on replay later on. But usually the way that any type of ads are worked is the person that has the highest bid and is the most relevant will get placement. However, let's say, for instance, I bid $1.50. I'm the most relevant. The second bid is, say, 75 cents. I end up winning it, but I don't have to pay that $1.50. I pay 1 penny above the second highest bid, winning bid. Okay? So that means that I'd be 76 cents. That's the way it works over on the Amazon Ads platform right now. Same thing that works over on, say, Facebook. But on Google, they're changing things. Now, if you bid, say $1.50, and you win, you pay that $1.50. There's no real like moving it back. And for whatever reason, Google tries to spin this in a positive light. Like, hey, this is what's happening, in the early days of online display advertising, blah, blah, blah. This is really good for publishers and advertisers, and especially people that are going to go ahead and get the money and pay off for this. Fair warning. When you see something like this, chances are super likely other advertising platforms are going to follow suit. So that means if you bid $10 as a CPC, your cost per click, you're going to probably pay $10. So it has to make you kind of wonder, and you scratch your head. Amazon's paid attention to Google all these years. It's how they've tweaked the Amazon algorithm, otherwise known as A9, now A10. So what does that mean for Amazon advertising? Does that mean that if we bid that high, we're going to have to pay that high? Because right now, as it stands, it works like I just discussed. I bid, say, $1.50. I win the bid. Second highest bid is 75 cents. They're going to kick it up by about a penny. Boom, everybody's happy. Is Amazon going to do that? I want to hear from you inside the comments if you believe that that's going to happen. Again, that's speculation on my part. They may never do that. All right, next item in the news. This is one I'm most excited about. Aggregate publishing platform PublishDrive has a big deal right now. Normally, it is a subscription-based service for aggregate publishing. In return, what you're going to end up doing is getting 100% of net profits coming in from all the different avenues. So as an example, Drafted Digital, when you publish through them, they have what's called revenue share. They take about 15% of the net profits coming in, and you collect 85%. That's a good deal, right? PublishDrive is a little bit differently. When you publish to their platform, you pay a monthly fee. So if you have, I think, 2 books, it's like $5 per month. If you got like 5 or 10 books, it's like $10 per month. And this is in perpetuity. If you want to continue to use their platform, you got to continue to pay that subscription. Now, if you're a new author and you don't really have much of a marketing plan or a following, PublishDrive might not be the best solution for you. It used to be the way of the rev share, but over about 2 years ago, they switched over to the subscription model for whatever reason. I've not been the biggest fan since they switched that. They're still a great company, but it just doesn't resonate with me. It just doesn't, especially if you're just testing out the platform. Well, I got this inside my inbox. I was tickled to death to see this. AppSumo is actually running a deal on PublishDrive, publishing thousands of bookstores with one platform. You can publish and sell over 400 bookstores and 240,000 libraries worldwide in ebook, audiobook, and print on demand. It's an alternative to KDP and IngramSpark. They also have Amazon advertising worked into it. Let me show you the deal, how much it costs on each one. They have 2 tiers on this one. A license tier 1, you will get all of the things, that they have here, and you can publish up to 24 books. Now, if we were to go over to PublishDrive's site, let's see if we can pull up the listing. My apologies, I didn't have this ready for the news segment. You would think I would have had it. PublishDrive, there we go. All right, so we look at their pricing. Okay, so 2 books is $10 per month. 6 books is $20 per month. 24 books is $50 per month, and the pro plan is $48. Now, keep in mind that if you are doing ebook, audiobook, and print book, each one of those count as one. Okay, each one. Normally, say through KDP, you could probably have an ebook, print book, and paperback and hardcover. Those are 3. It just all is listed as one. Here on PublishDrive, each one of them counts. So if you have an ebook, a version of your book, you have a paperback version, and you have the audiobook, that counts as 3. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're kind of really I don't know about this deal. You can have up to 24 books. So let's say that you have 3 versions of this particular book. So that means that you can have upwards of about 8 publications in total here. And then the tier 2 license, which I imagine that's probably what I'm going to pick up right now. It has upwards of 96 books. So that's really cool. They also have a note from Kinga Gentetics, who is the CEO of PublishDrive, a sweetheart of a gal, by the way. Absolutely love Kinga. By the way, what's up, Kinga, if you happen to be watching this. Folks, go on over to my affiliate link for AppSumo, dalelinks.com/publishdeal. So again, that's dalelinks.com/publishdeal. I'll leave a link inside the description down below. Moving forward, there's 2 more items in the news. What it would take to disrupt the publishing industry, featured on Publishers Weekly. Love me some Publishers Weekly. They put out some great articles, and this one's by Brooke Warner. And she gives some really great insights to her history inside the self-publishing business and what things that she could see being a real disruption. And part of that, it got me right away, was this one. Cancel returns. Getting rid of returns would make a huge world of a difference. I can't agree more, Brooke. Honestly, I don't even put in returns or refunds allowed in IngramSpark. I know that it limits my ability to get into brick and mortar stores, but I'm not willing to take a risk on some brick and mortar store ordering a pallet full of my books and returning it, and then I have to eat the cost. The chances of that happening are slim and none, but nonetheless, I've heard some horror stories where that does happen. So this is what she says, and you'll have to go through and read this. I just wanted to highlight this particular area because she actually brings in some really great points. And this is something that all self-publishers should really educate themselves on. This will be unpopular with bookstores, no doubt, but returns are a thorn in the side of every publisher, and it's archaic policy that pushes publishers to print more than they need because bookstores order as much as they want with no fear of penalty for returning what they don't sell. It's wasteful. Agreed, and there has to be a better way forward. Yeah, I don't get it. You know, why don't we just go ahead and destroy the planet Earth while we're at it? Going and sending and bringing in these type of books. I think bookstores need to be held a little bit more accountable. Don't stock it on your shelf if you don't think you're going to sell it. Just putting it on there so you can fill the shelf and fulfill like your need as a bookstore owner and looking good doesn't help out the author that you're taking money out of their pocket from. Now, TradPub, that's a different thing. Maybe they got some insurance policies, but let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, the fact that these books have to go somewhere. And a lot of times, either A, they go to some type of wholesale discount type store like Half Price Books, or they just get thrown away, which absolutely sucks. And I think that any of these bookstores needs to start thinking about that in the long term. Like, oh, I can go ahead and return that. That's not money out of my pocket. Fantastic. It doesn't affect me. Does it? Does it? Moving a little further forward, Lulu had a fantastic piece over on their blog about NFTs. If you're not familiar with NFTs, it's non-fungible tokens. Oh, in this world of Bitcoins and such like that, NFTs have more recently come out. What ends up happening is you have a digital product that you would like to sell, and it puts it on, and I'm sorry if any of you nerds out there know about blockchain and all that type of stuff, it essentially puts a digital stamp on this particular product. If someone wants to sell that NFT to somebody else, they can. So that means this digital product, when I buy it, let's say, for instance, I get this picture. My friend Brian Meeks, I'm going to talk about him here in a second. He's doing some artwork. So he sells it to me, and I buy it for, I don't know, 1 Ethereum or something like that, because it's all bought through Bitcoin. And let's say after the artwork has just kind of tickled my fancy for a while, I decide I'm going to sell it to my buddy Mojo Seedlack. So when I sell this to her, what ends up happening is there's like a little log that's attached to this digital asset that shows all the owners, where it came from, who currently has it, and then, of course, as I sell it over to that person, it'll go over to them. And sometimes built in within these NFTs, a percentage of each sale goes back to the origins of who created that digital asset. So when I sell that, let's say, for instance, that Brian Meeks sells me his painting, or his digital artwork, if you will. He sells it to me. He gets his money outright. Then I say, well, you know what? I've had enough of Brian's piece. I think it's awesome. It's fantastic, but I'm going to sell it to my buddy Mojo. There's something that's put into those NFTs that is a percentage of a sale that goes back to the original person. So even though I might say sell it for, I don't know, 2 Ethereum, maybe 5% of that specific Ethereum goes over to Brian Meeks, who was the originator of this. Now, the reason why I bring up Brian Meeks is about 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was just discussing this with NFTs and how this could really change the self-publishing industry. Imagine this. Imagine buying an ebook. Okay? I buy an ebook. How often do you go back and read your ebooks? Be real here. How often do you read it? Sure, you might have 1 or 2 that you do go back to time and again. But it usually just sits there and collects virtual dust on your virtual bookshelf, doing you really no good. You paid $3 or $4 for this digital ebook. You got done reading it. Well, there we go. I'm all set. What am I supposed to do with this? I can't just give it away to somebody. It's just not going to work that way because you have that inside, say, an Amazon account or maybe some type of a publishing platform. With NFTs, though, this means that you can start to sell that specific digital asset to somebody else. Oh, my Lord, it would be so amazing if I could take the thousands of ebooks that I currently own and I could be able to sell that. Even if I were to get like $1 a piece, that would be awesome because sometimes I purge all the print books off my shelf. I'll go to Half Price Books and I'll get some money for it. Gets off my shelf, goes into somebody else's shelf, and I get a little bit of scratch. NFTs is going to revolutionize this business. Now, there's some controversies going behind it. Some people talk about how it requires a lot of resources and energy to produce these NFTs, and I'm sure over due time, that's going to probably get fixed in some capacity. For right now, it's still relatively new, but keep this on